Aw, shit. Who's actually pumped for this episode? Because this is one of the few people we've honored where I've seen every single fucking movie that he has directed. What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Top 5 Saturdays Live with me, one of your co-hosts, Chase Lee, and the other co-host being Brian Sudfield. On this week's episode, Dunkirk is coming out, so Christopher Nolan, Lord Nolan, has a new film, which means we're going to break down his best films that he has done. So what will we put on our list? What's going to reign supreme? What are we going to dislike? What are we going to like? Christopher Nolan is today's subject, so you're going to have to sit down, relax, and find out. How's it going, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Top 5 Saturdays Live with me, Chase Lee, one of your co-hosts, and the other co-host being
Brian Sudfield.
That's fucking right, and his connection is strong today. That was a 1 second delay. It was wonderful. Anyways, welcome to the show, everyone. If you're new, welcome, returners, the returning listeners. Also, welcome back. We love you guys to death. But if you are new, what we do is we take a look at the movies coming on Friday, and we'll pick one. We'll pick an actor, actress, director, what have you, and we'll make a top 5 list according to such subject, and we will expose our list to the internet like a Flasher does at a Chuck E. Cheese. So, Brian, before we begin into our episode, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm wonderful. I've gone through a happy phase lately. I'm doing so well. It's a great week. I saw a few movies, and I got to hang out with awesome people. Got to eat great food. I've had a great time within the last few days. I'm doing very, very well. How are you, Chase?
It's another week. I'm trying to catch up on a bunch of Netflix and shit I've missed, and it's a daunting task, man. It's just and all the Comic-Con trailers that have dropped today. It's like,
yes,
it's just a lot of.
I don't want to get too off topic, but I've watched the trailer 1,000 times.
To which one? Which one?
Just after watching that.
Which one?
I'm sorry.
Which trailer?
Oh my God! Do I have to say it again?
Yeah.
Ready Player One.
Okay, yeah, your connection's already turning to shit. So we've made it 2 minutes in, folks, and I guess I jinxed it because now it's going to hell. All right, so anyways, what we do on the show, like I said, the couple things that are cool about this is that we don't know each other's list, and it's live, so we have no idea what the hell's going to come out of our mouths, or if his connection's going to fuck up like it normally does. But we will trudge onward, because this week's subject is, Brian, what is it? Take it away.
Wait, can you hear me now?
Yes. Okay,
I'll just say this one more time. The trailer was Ready Player One. That's the trailer that I was talking about.
Brian, we moved on 10 years ago.
I know, but I'm just letting you know. Our topic this week, we are finally honoring one of the best filmmakers in Hollywood today, Christopher Nolan. What is there to say about this guy that hasn't been said? This guy is hands down one of the best we have working today. Nearly everything he puts out is either good or great. He has yet to make a bad movie. He's made about 10 movies in his career so far that has been around for, I would say, 20 years, so pretty much around my age. He's very versatile. He's made a bunch of thrillers. Obviously, he's done superhero movies. He's done a movie involving magic. He's done movies involving time. He's done movies involving dreams, space, and now he just made his first war movie. So, Christopher Nolan is incredible. He has a great sense of imagination, loves to shoot on film, huge advocate for that. Amazing actors usually in his movies, great dialogue, fantastic filmmaking. He is just a filmmaker that just loves making films, and he is one of the best. I am so fucking excited to honor this man, because I've been waiting to do this ever since we started this show 2 years ago.
Yeah, and Christopher Nolan's one of those type of filmmakers to where I just get super excited whenever he has another movie coming out. I don't care what it's about. I'm just always excited to see kind of his take on it, his spin, the way he's going to shoot it, the way he's going to compose it and whatnot. And Christopher Nolan is very special because I've actually seen, I know, shocker, all of the movies he has directed. Not any of his short films, but I have seen all of his feature-length films. I just saw the following today. Also, he's one of the few subjects we've ever done to where I have no dishonorable mentions. So whatever didn't make it on our top 5 list, so I guess Brian's the same, it's going to be on our honorable mentions, and they're not bad movies. It was just hard to pick the 5 to represent him and have the other ones kind of be left behind. But yeah, he's one of the few to where no dishonorable mentions, and I've seen every single movie, so this is actually exciting. We actually did our research on this one. Well, it's like what Brian said. He's only done like 10 movies, so like he's still, I would say, a sophomoric filmmaker. He's not really up there in terms of his filmography and whatnot. It's kind of like with Quentin Tarantino. Like, he's been around for a while. He's only made 8 movies, but I would consider him a little bit above the cut, just a little bit more than Nolan. But, it's just, let Nolan keep doing his thing, and he will eventually mature into one of the greats. But he's on the road to that path. So, yeah, I'm excited to kind of break this down because I think you guys will be shocked at my list. Because I pretty much have had my same, I'd say, top 3 for a while. Let's just say that. They haven't really changed or been altered. So, all right, let's do this. Let's break this down. And as always, guys, spread this episode around and let people know that this is the definitive top 5 show. And let us know what are some of your favorite. And if you do have a least favorite Christopher Nolan movie, down below my voice and Brian's voice. Brian, speaking of you, son, let's begin. What is your number 5 favorite Christopher Nolan film of all time so far?
My number 5, I'm probably going with, I wouldn't say this is his most underrated one, but I feel like whenever you talk about Christopher Nolan, no one ever speaks about this movie. And I know where it is on your list, but I can't say where it is because I feel like that might spoil where it is. My number 5 is The Prestige, which came out in 2006. For people who don't know what this film is, this was his follow-up to Batman Begins. It stars Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman, so you have Batman and Wolverine as 2 rivaling musicians in London at the end of the 19th century. They're obsessed with making this big stage illusion, and it's so engaging that it's definitely one of Nolan's more underrated films. I wouldn't say it's his most underrated one. It might be. I can't say if it is, but, when you have a cast like Hugh Jackman, Christian Bale, you also have Scarlett Johansson in here. You got Michael Caine. You got Andy Serkis here, actually. Rebecca Hall in one of her first roles. And you got Mr. David Bowie in a very big role. So this movie is insanely great. It's so engaging. The cinematography is beautiful by the great Wally Pfister. We'll be bringing him up a lot on this list because, he has shot most of Nolan's films. The only ones he hasn't shot are Interstellar and Dunkirk. It's really well edited. The score is awesome, and it's not even scored by Hans Zimmer. I just find it's really engaging. I'm not really a big magician fan. I've always appreciated when some movies take risks by making them about magicians. I almost said musicians. But this is probably the best movie about magic that I've ever seen. And it's really innovative and very cool. And like I said, it's basically a story of Batman and Wolverine fighting for Black Widow. So if you're like a huge superhero fan like me and Chase, it's kind of a cool thing when you think about it. The Prestige is pretty great. I haven't seen it in quite some time. I believe it's on Netflix. And if you guys have not checked it out, do yourself a favor and check it out because it is without question one of Nolan's most underappreciated films to date.
I am going to pass. This was also the same year that The Illusionist came out, so it was kind of
which is also good. That's also a good one.
It's a good one. But I'm going to defer to the other one. But I'll talk about that eventually. Of
course.
But that was an interesting year because they were kind of like battling back and forth to see which one was on top. And this was the follow-up after Batman Begins. And so everyone had eyes on this and was like, all right, is Christopher Nolan the real deal? After Batman Begins, like, can you go back to a normal movie with a normal story and whatnot and not be something of comic book lore? And, I would think he knocked it out of the park, but what the fuck am I talking about? Because I'm going to pass. All right, so my number 5, I'm going to go with the newest one, Dunkirk. I'm not going to review it that much because just in case if Joel's listening, because Joel likes to ostracize himself from my thoughts on the shit until we record. But Dunkirk is a visceral, kind of gripping, intense experience. And a lot of people I've seen kind of online that backlash it because of no characters that you want to follow or, there's no structure. It's kind of all over the place. I thought what Christopher Nolan did very well, Brian, I don't know if you agree with me, is that he took the cliche of a war movie and spun it on its head by doing 3 separate kind of story arcs, making them non-linear and them kind of converging at the end. And it was different. It was something fresh and new because, as much as I love Hacksaw Ridge, that is a cliche war film. It is.
It is.
But it's really well done. And so what Christopher Nolan did was decided to throw a curveball at that genre and do something different. And I thought it paid off because it wasn't about the characters. It was about the kind of heroism in war and how people survived in this hellish situation. It was an experience. He captured an experience in the actual event of Dunkirk. That was the whole point. And he nailed it across the board when you would talk about the immaculate, gorgeous cinematography, especially in 70mm, goddammit. You have the awesome music that really just kind of accompanies this journey. You have the wonderful, nuanced acting, because you don't need over-the-top character acting. And that's just we're seeing a bunch of people in this situation that are doing their thing. They're little puzzle pieces kind of moving apart or moving along with this story and all coming together at the end. And I thought everyone did very well. Even, yes, Harry fucking Styles. He was actually probably my favorite part. But yeah, and then of course the practical effects really kind of immerse you into that world and that time period. Dunkirk is definitely a cinematic masterpiece in terms of filmmaking. Whether you want to think about direction or editing, or sound design, or music or cinematography, it all clicked together for me. And I do think this newest one from him will carry on as one of the best in the war genre and one of the best in his filmography, even with movies that he's about to do down the road. So Dunkirk is my newest one, or his newest one, as my number 5. Of course, I'll break it down and review it tomorrow on my show. But as far as this goes, I'm comfortable with putting it as my number 5. Now, it was between I'm not going to lie, it was between this and I wanted to put Insomnia, because Insomnia is very underrated. It's a really well done thriller about sleep deprivation and Al Pacino and Robin Williams. It's a really great underrated little thriller, but Dunkirk was a really great experience in IMAX 70mm, so I'm going to have to go with that.
Yeah, Dunkirk is without question one of the year's best films. It is absolutely a delight to watch. I mean, and not in the good way. It is a very hard film to watch, and I can't remember the last time when I saw this yesterday, also in 70mm. When I saw this yesterday, I had no idea what to think of it, because I was on the edge of my seat, and it was just an absolute delight to check out. So it was just speechless. I was speechless when watching this. So it was wonderful. And yeah, Dunkirk, fantastic. I don't want to say too much, but it was awesome.
Wait, are you passing or?
No. It's not on my list.
Oh, because you were like, I'll talk about it more. Excuse me. All right, number 4. What do you got?
Give me 1 second. My number 4, I'm going with the film that everyone would put as their number 1. I'm going with The Dark Knight.
Okay.
I mean, we've talked about this movie, I would say, like 20 times within the last 7 months. It's been a discussion we've talked about on like 25 different episodes, and I'm going to say this right now. It's not my favorite superhero film. It definitely changed the game for superhero films, comic book films, adaptations of comic books. It changed the game. It's definitely one of the most grounded comic book movies ever made. It's incredibly directed, fantastically acted. Obviously, Heath Ledger, Oscar-winning performance, just a perfect all-around movie. It furthered along the character of Batman. It got really depressing. It got deep. It got terrifying. It was so engaging, and I remember seeing this when I was a little kid in the theater. I was 10 years old, I think. Yeah, so it was almost 10 years ago. So it was just an absolute delight watching, and I think it's a masterpiece. I do think it's one of the best superhero films ever made. I don't think it's my favorite one. I understand why people would call this the best one ever made. I totally get it. It was almost up for Best Picture. A lot of people thought it was going to get nominated for many Oscars. It did a lot of technical stuff, and obviously Heath Ledger got nominated. But you gotta give credit to Christopher Nolan because, I mean, yeah, we've had many awesome superhero films that came out before this. Obviously, like X-Men 2, some people consider it the best superhero film. Spider-Man 2, a lot of people consider it the best. So basically all the twos in a series, everyone was like, oh my God, these are the best. And when The Dark Knight came out, everyone was already like, oh my God, Batman Begins, oh my God, so good. And this one was even better. It further along the stories. It had an incredible villain, and the acting was awesome. It made me like Aaron Eckhart. Because at the time I hadn't seen like Thank You for Smoking or a few other stuff. And what else can you say? It's The Dark Knight. It's brilliant. I understand why everyone would put it as their favorite Christopher Nolan movie. But me personally, there are 3 films that I like more than The Dark Knight. But The Dark Knight is still an other masterpiece in Nolan's catalog for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to pass. It's not far from your spot, actually, because I've been one of the few people that actually prefer Christopher Nolan's non-Batman movies, and I love the Batman trilogy, but I actually prefer his original stories rather than the Batman stories, and that's just personal preference, because Brian's right, there are better comic book movies out there, one of which came out this year and still holds up to this day, so yeah, I'm going to pass, but my number 4 is actually Prepare to be Shocked. Prepare to be Shocked. My number 4 is actually the one that I saw 3 hours ago. I liked Following. I really did. The thing with this one is that it's low budget. This thing came out the same year as Pi, by the way, which is from Darren Aronofsky, and they're both in black and white. They're both very short movies, and they're both fucking weird. Well, Pi's a little bit more weird, but with Following, we have this guy who's basically a writer who wants to kind of do research on just kind of like following people and just seeing what they do throughout the day and whatnot. Not really doing anything like sexually assaulting or like violent or anything. Just following people around. There's a guy that confronts him about it, and then he gets roped into this kind of thieving operation from this guy. And we're kind of off. And this film is told non-linear, kind of like Dunkirk, where we see, a bit of the movie in the beginning, then it might jump into the future, then it might jump into the past after that. So it kind of goes all the way back. It kind of flops back and forth. But I thought the premise of the movie was really engaging. I liked the characters. I liked the way it was shot. It kind of had this like grounded, gritty look to it, considering it was in black and white and it was low budget. I really enjoyed just kind of like the atmosphere of it and really just kind of got engaged, like I said, from the story. It's not like the best movie in the world, but I think on a low budget and for what it was pretty great. And I wouldn't say it's Nolan's best by any means, but I think it's a good, solid film. And the reason why I put that above Dunkirk is that you guys are probably thinking like, well, it makes it seem like you liked Dunkirk more. That might be, but I also saw Dunkirk a few days ago. That one's going to have a lot more to be processed. Following is a very straightforward film. It's very, like I said, very low budget, very small story. So I knew right then and there, I was like, okay, that's one of my favorites. Dunkirk, I wasn't really sure about. I'd have to let it marinate for a while, but I really enjoyed just kind of like the small, kind of intimate nature of Following. I really enjoyed it from start to finish. My only issue with it is that it's too short. It's an hour and 70 minutes. I don't even think it classifies as it classifies as a feature film, but like in my eyes, it's like just a little bit longer than a short film. It could have been a little longer, to be honest with you, and really kind of let this mystery kind of saturate a little bit more in front of you, and I think it would have came out a little better. But I think for what was presented in his Christopher Nolan's first film, it was pretty damn great. So, Following is my number 4.
This is the only Christopher Nolan film I still have not watched. I was gonna watch it before
Brian,
we
you
record the show.
motherfucker! You told me it was on. You told me it was on Netflix. I watched it in preparation.
I got so busy for this.
Brian, it's an hour and 10 minutes. It's like one of the shortest things ever.
I know, but when I realized I wanted to watch it, it was like 7:45, and I'm like, I have to record at 8:30, so I couldn't I couldn't watch it, and I didn't want to keep you waiting any longer. So I was trying to be nice, okay? I'm going to watch it immediately after this. So by the time I do my podcast, I would have already seen every Nolan movie. So I'm good. It's one movie, by the way, so it's not, the end of the world. It's not like I missed The Prestige or The Dark Knight. It's, his first movie. It's the smallest film ever. And, also, by the way, for people who don't know, if you're a fan of, like, collecting Blu-rays, this is a Criterion, by the way, just to let you guys know.
It was really cool when you watched it on Netflix because they had the Criterion Collection logo in front of it. It was really, really awesome. And also, ironically, one of the houses that they break into, on the front door, there's a Batman symbol. I'm not even joking.
Oh, shit.
It's just there, and I'm like, dude, he was like basically telling us like back in '98 that he was going to direct a Batman movie. That's awesome. Not really. It was just coincidence, but still really funny. But yeah, I would highly suggest you guys check it out. Like I said, my only flaw is it's a little too short, and some of the editing might seem a little clunky. I still like the nonlinear kind of format to it. But some of the editing within the sequences can be a little jarring a little bit. They just don't really flow well. But I'll cut them some slack because I actually really enjoyed the story and the premise. So, yeah. So, let's move on to our top three, guys. This is it. This is the top three that we're going to define Christopher Nolan as the best with. So, Brian, what is your number three?
My number three, I'm going with... When I saw this film, I was 12 years old, so I think Chase might have an idea because he knows, like, I'm 19, so that means 7 years ago. Inception. Inception, when I first saw it, I was so fucking confused. I had no idea what the hell was going on. I was like, oh, it's Leonardo DiCaprio and, dreams and dreams and dreams. I like dreams. I like DiCaprio. Sure. But I watched it a few more times afterwards as I got older. It's an absolute masterpiece. Inception was really revolutionary. Obviously, this was a big deal because this was Christopher Nolan's follow-up to The Dark Knight. And everyone was still on that Dark Knight hype train. Everyone was like, oh my god, The Dark Knight. Oh, fuck me. And then they saw this trailer for this movie called Inception. They're like, oh... It's from that guy who made The Dark Knight. That Leonardo DiCaprio, where has he been? Oh my god! And that was a great year for DiCaprio because he had that and Shutter Island. And Shutter Island's another fantastic piece of filmmaking. I think it's one of Martin Scorsese's best. Inception just takes the cool concept of going into dreams and playing around with them. And it may be off-putting for some people, but you gotta watch it a few times to fully grasp the true meaning of the film. It's really depressing when you think about it because I don't want to spoil anything just in case people haven't seen the movie because believe me, there are probably people out there who still have not seen Inception because they're too scared to watch it or something. I don't know. It is what it is. I think this is visually groundbreaking. It's so good visually. It was nominated for Best Picture, which was very cool because this was one of Christopher Nolan's first Oscar nominations. I think he actually got nominated earlier on. I'm not entirely sure. He was snubbed of a director nomination. I thought he was going to get a director nomination. I'll be honest with you guys, he's probably going to get one for Dunkirk. I could tell you that right off the bat. It's July. It is very early in the year, but I will not be surprised if he gets nominated for Dunkirk. With all the praise it's getting, it has a strong chance at this year's at this upcoming Oscars. But Inception is visually mind-bending. The acting's great. The writing's really good. I love the camaraderie between all the actors. When you have like Leonardo DiCaprio, Ken Watanabe, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Tom Hardy, and Ellen Page working together, and then you have Cillian Murphy involved, it's really awesome. It's one of Christopher Nolan's best cast, I would say. And yeah, it's spectacular. Inception is an absolute mindfuck, but it's so well done. And it's one of the best films of the decade. Like, visually, it's one of the best. It's so engaging. And if you're a filmmaker, you gotta check out Inception. It's really great. And then the bow and, Inception, just all around incredible. Chase, go ahead.
It's not on my list, but I will say that Inception, what it does very well is take this concept of going to people's dreams and making it seem epic. Because when you think about it, it's like these people are going inside people's minds. And that could easily be really cheesy or really corny. But like what Christopher Nolan does is like when they go inside these dream levels and keep going deeper and deeper, they're different worlds, they're different atmospheres and environments, and you just completely get enveloped in all of them. So I like it quite a bit. I love all the performances involved. It's the first time I ever saw Tom Hardy, and it's the first time It's the first time Christopher Nolan used Tom Hardy. He's used him multiple times, but it's also the only one where Tom Hardy does not have a mask on, so or anything on his face, like a fucking face hugger. So yeah, no, everyone does a really great job. I remember that movie when it came out in the summer. It was just a really nice, refreshing, like epic blockbuster, smack dab in the middle of the summer, amongst all these other films. Because in 2010, we had. I don't think we didn't have any Marvel movies.
No, we had Iron Man 2.
Oh yeah, excuse me, Iron Man 2. So I mean, that wasn't really it. Marvel was still getting its footing around that time. And in 2010, I don't believe there's any DC because Green Lantern came out in 2011. So at that point, there wasn't like any big like. Yeah, and X-Men First Class was the year after. So yeah, 2010 was a wonderful summer because it was pretty much wide open, and Inception was like the dominating force in that summer. I remember everyone was talking about it, and everyone talked about that goddamn spinner top at the end. Like, dude, the move did not is a dream fuck. Like, it's cool to theorize about and stuff, but I mean, Christopher Nolan did that on purpose. But yeah, definitely a very good one indeed. Just I couldn't put it on my list. It's not one of my personal favorites, but I still can acknowledge on how epic of a film it is and how great the concept is. Because that's what Christopher Nolan and his brother Jonathan Nolan do, is they come up with great concepts. And I applaud them for that. It might not work for some people because I know a lot of people don't like Christopher Nolan films. But for me, I think him and his brother really do kind of tap into this originality that, I love seeing kind of come out of Hollywood and doing something different like Dunkirk and not doing a conventional war story. Or Inception, about people going into people's dreams and doing it on this epic scale, kind of like sci-fi surreal ways. So, I just applaud everything they do, and Inception's definitely one of those for sure. My number 3, I'm going to go with Brian's 4, and I'm going to do The Dark Knight. I mean, we talked about this movie to death. It is probably my favorite Batman film, but it's not my favorite Batman. My favorite Batman is Ben Affleck, and I still stand by that. Even with all the rumors and whatnot, it's whatever. But as far as this one goes, when you think about the movie as a whole, a lot of people automatically go to Heath Ledger, and that's understandable. The guy won an Oscar for it, posthumously, and it's one of the best performances of the 2000s. It really is. Like, I will stand here and say that. However, it's just not my personal favorite of Nolan's because I like his other movies more. But as this one stands, it's a really great crime thriller about a guy in a rubber suit running around kicking ass. And I love Batman and Joker's interactions. Heath Ledger and Christian Bale played that beautifully, to where Christian Bale has this like kind of wall in front of him, this emotional wall he's not going to break. The Joker tries to break him down psychologically, and it's a great back and forth of, are they both the same person, just different sides of the coin? Like, it's kind of like that question that is kind of brought up with vigilantism. So, and of course the opening sequence with the bank heist is really great. The cinematography, once again, gorgeous. Wally Pfister. They use the colors of blue and gray very well in this film. It's a very colorful film, even though it's really dark. I like everything about it in terms of just the story, the characters, the villain, the side characters, and I actually like the swap of Maggie Gyllenhaal over Katie Holmes. Sorry, but I think that Maggie Gyllenhaal, I don't know, she had a better chemistry with Christian Bale than Katie Holmes. I didn't really buy that between them two, but it is what it is. Yeah, it's a really great crime thriller, really great superhero film. We've talked about it to death. It's always going to appear on our list anytime when we can talk about it, but it's one of the best for a reason. And Christopher Nolan, after this film, pretty much caused other studios to go dark on everything. Now, that's fine for some stuff, but yes, you shouldn't just make it dark because it worked for The Dark Knight. No, If it requires to be this dark, brooding thing, go ahead and do it. And I'm one of the few backers that actually will defend Zack Snyder's kind of dark take on, the DCEU with Man of Steel and BVS. Like, I actually like that. It's different. It's a nice kind of like, counter to what Marvel has been doing. Even though Marvel's got some dark shit in their movies, they are more of like that Disney Funhouse family vibe because they are owned by Disney. They have to make it somewhat accessible to families. DC is owned by Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers can go a little darker if they want to. So I like that. And I like this kind of like kind of dark, otherworldly kind of thing that Snyder's been doing. And I like what they did with Wonder Woman, and I'm just curious to see what they do with Justice League and whatnot. So every interpretation that's going to happen between now until when Brian and I die off the face of this earth is that we're going to have many interpretations of Batman, and we're all going to cling on to certain ones. But I will say during our lifetimes, I've enjoyed most of the interpretations that we've had thus far, and The Dark Knight really kind of set it in the right direction in terms of what I always thought Batman was, which was like this kind of guy that was like broken. He's just, he's a shell of a man. He's not taking any shit from people, and that's why I really appreciate about Ben Affleck's Batman, because he kind of takes that to a whole nother level. He's kind of like an unhinged PTSD type of person, which is really dangerous if you just let him run wild. So, I've always liked the progression of the Batman character, and I do think Christian Bale did a good job kind of portraying that vigilante bat in the night, and of course the playboy himself, Bruce Wayne. So The Dark Knight is my number 3. All right, guys, so let's get into our top 2. This is going to be fascinating because Brian already knows what my number 1 is. I'm not going to let you guys know that, but I don't know what I don't know where he's going to go. I honestly don't know. I think, to be honest with you, we have one of them in common. But I think the one I'm thinking of is his number 1. So I don't know what his number 2 is. So let's get into that. Brian, what is your number 2?
So I thought about this very thoroughly. This was really hard for me to decide because my top 2 Christopher Nolan films, I adore both of them equally. I find both of them to be 5 out of 5 A+ masterpieces with no problems whatsoever. They both really inspired me into my stages as becoming a filmmaker, and they inspired my love for film. It's really hard for me to decide. It is. I'm still kind of contemplating it right now, but I'm going to have to go on my gut, and I'm going to have to say this right now. My number 2, I'm going to go with Insomnia as my number 2. That's my number 2.
Wow, it's that high for you, huh?
Insomnia to me is, without question, a extremely heart-pounding thriller. For people, it baffles me that people have not seen this movie. And I mean, first of all, shame on you. It's one of the best thrillers I think ever made. Second, it is a thriller that is done so differently from other thrillers that it is so unique in its own manner that I don't get why people wouldn't see it. And also, the 3 actors headlining the movie. I mean, how can you not watch a movie that is headlined by Al Pacino, Robin Williams, and Hilary Swank? That is a great triple threat of a cast. At the time of this movie, all 3 of them were Oscar winners. I remember watching the trailer. It said Oscar winner Al Pacino, Oscar winner Robin Williams, Oscar winner Hilary Swank. You got 3 Oscar winners headlining the movie. Directed by Christopher Nolan, who at the time had only done 2 movies. 2 movies. This was his 3rd movie. This was also a remake of a very famous Norwegian film or Swedish film, I believe, starring Stellan Skarsgård, which I have not seen, so I can't really compare this to the original. I want to say that right now. I do believe the original is actually a Criterion release, so, that's also very cool. So, if you guys don't know what Insomnia is, what happens is there's this murder in this town in Alaska. Al Pacino's this cop who has to travel there and go solve it. Now, there's something unique about this particular town. The sun never sets. That's why it's called Nightingale. I think that's what the town is called. From what I remember, I think that's what it's called. It is a very unique premise, and it's crazy to me that I think this is one of Al Pacino's most underrated performances. Like, at this time, Al Pacino wasn't really doing much greatness. Because, I mean, he did all this greatness from the 70s and then 80s and 90s, on and off and stuff with, like, Scarface, Godfather, Scent of a Woman, so much stuff. Dog Day Afternoon, Serpico. Insomnia, to me, felt like Heat as well. So Insomnia was an amazing performance from him because this guy can't sleep. And it's understandable why, but there's reasons to why he can't sleep. Not only because of this murder and not because the sun can't set. Something happens to him during the movie. I'm not going to spoil what happens because, I mean, even though this movie is 15 years old, a lot of people out there still have not seen this movie. Now, I know a lot of people have not seen this movie because when I ask people, oh, have you seen Insomnia? And they're like, what? What's that movie? And I'm like, it's from the guy who made The Dark Knight. I've seen The Dark Knight, but I've never seen Insomnia. And you should go see Insomnia. Al Pacino is incredible. It's a really heartbreaking performance. Robin Williams, rest in peace, first of all. This is one of the scariest performances he's ever done. He is so psychotic in this movie. He is terrifying. He is so scary.
It's kind of like on the same level as his sociopathic character in 1 Hour Photo.
Which ironically came out the same year.
Yep.
It came out the same year. So, this was a year for Rob Williams where he played the psychotic, mindfuck characters. I mean, I think this character's... I don't know. What character do you think is less crazy? This one or his character in 1 Hour Photo?
Well, I'd be more scared of his character in 1 Hour Photo because he's taking photos without your consent. He's kind of like looking at them very creepily, starting his like own family in his own mind. Like you don't know if he'll snap. Like he looks pleasant, but he's there's something wrong with him. At least with like his character in Insomnia, like you can definitely tell like, there's something kind of off, and you don't really want to approach him. At least with 1 Hour Photo, he looked at least approachable.
Yeah, totally. I totally get that. He's incredible, and the sequences with him and Pacino going back and forth, that's like ultimate nerdgasm because I never expected in my life to see Al Pacino and Robin Williams go back and forth. So that's really awesome. And Hilary Swank, this was at the peak of her career. She had won an Oscar for Boys Don't Cry, and she was great as the cop that was like investigating. She was really like she admired Al Pacino's character, but she knew something was up about him. She knew something was wrong. She was very suspicious. She was a very smart rookie cop. And all around, the movie's engaging. It's really thrilling from beginning to end. I had no idea what was going to happen. The ending is absolutely insane. The last 20 minutes, the sequences with the fog, that's great. The chase sequences where they're running on the logs on the water, that was really awesome. I think Insomnia all around is a brilliant piece of cinema, and it sucks that no one ever talks about it. It sucks that not many people see it. I mean, have seen it, and it's really incredible. I just think Insomnia is a 5 out of 5 masterpiece. And for people who love film, you gotta check this out. And if you're a fan of whenever many Oscar-winning actors headline a movie, and I list 3 of them, you gotta check this one out because this is without a doubt one of Christopher Nolan's best movies. It's one of the best films of each of these actors. And it's hard not to like it. It's so good. And I know it may be a little off-putting to some. It may be hard to watch. But my God, it's so great. Insomnia is my number 2.
Yeah, like I said, it's a really good pick. I haven't seen it in a while, but I remember when I saw it for the first time, I didn't even know Christopher Nolan did it at the time. I just watched it as a movie, and I really enjoyed it. When you go back and you kind of realize that Nolan did it, you're just kind of blown away because you're like, it doesn't feel like Nolan, but that's what's great about him is he can kind of tap into any genre and just make it work. So, yeah, for all those people out there that started out with The Dark Knight and have only watched like from The Dark Knight all the way up till Dunkirk, go see his earlier films. Like, I think you'll be really impressed because most of my favorite ones he's ever done were pre-Dark Knight. So it's like, we're suggesting that you go check out everything before 2008 that he has done. Trust me, you will not be disappointed. My number 2, I believe, is Brian's number uno, but that would be Memento with Guy Pearce. And I remember when I saw this for the first time, I was a teenager, and this was before I could watch R-rated movies. I had to ask my mommy, to rent it for me, and I absolutely loved it. I love the whole nonlinear storytelling. I love the fact that it's going all over the place, but you're still riveted in each section that it is presented. Guy Pearce has lost his wife. He doesn't remember what happened. He writes things on him in tattoo form and whatnot, and he's kind of trying to solve it. Like what has happened. And guess what? That's all I'm going to say. because you need to experience the movie because it's going to completely mess with your mind. It's something you need to watch more than once. But just like with Following, it's got like this grounded, gritty kind of sense to it. The cinematography is just in your face and also very grounded. It just feels like real characters going through this situation, even though it's presented in almost like this kind of like dreamlike, surreal nature. It still feels like a real movie with real characters, and it's just compelling to watch because you believe Guy Pearce in every single step of this movie. You're like, dude, I want you to solve this. Like, it seems like it's really bothering you. Please solve this shit. And Guy Pearce is really great in this. Like, he's very paranoid, but he's very determined to find out what happened. And, you know, with his kind of like memory loss situation, you kind of feel for him. You're like, dude, I feel really bad for you. Like, I want someone to help you so you can solve this. He's really convincing. He's really great in the role. It was one of my first ones I ever saw of him. I remember I saw like Memento and The Time Machine like back to back, and those were my first two experiences with Guy Pearce. But Christopher Nolan, once again, with Insomnia and Following, the guy knows how to really direct thrillers very, very well. And when you watch Dunkirk, it's the same thing. The guy knows how to create tension. He knows how to keep like your knuckles clenched onto the, you know, those arm seats in the theaters and just like, you know, not wanting to let up. Like, it's just so white knuckled, it's insane. I remember, oh shit, who was it? I think it was Kevin Smith. He was talking about when Memento in 2002 or 2001, I forgot which year, but came to Sundance. He attended that screening, and he said that like everyone their minds were blown because they were like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, because no one ever heard of Following. Like, yes, Following was a movie that existed, but Memento put Christopher Nolan on the map because of its premise and because of how good it was. And back in the day, I can't even imagine being a part of that first screening, having your mind blown like that. So Memento is a really great kind of murder mystery type of film. It's absolutely wonderful, and the premise alone will get you intrigued. And Guy Pearce completely sells it as the main character. So that is my number 2. G, Brian, I wonder what your number 1 is.
Memento.
Oh, shit. Well, you know.
Yes.
Oh,
yes. Yes. Memento, I think is the best thing he's ever done.
Well, you know, I'm going to refute that, but you know, I will agree with you that it's one of his best, like top 2 best. Yes.
Yes. I didn't see this film until I think 2 or 3 years ago. I don't really remember. I watched this in my film and literature class, my junior year of high school. And I think it was the last film that we watched in the class, because I remember the first one we actually watched was Inception, and then I believe the last one was this, and it's incredible because there's never been a movie made like this. I mean, we've had movies told in a non-linear fashion, but this is different. I feel like everybody knows, but just in case you don't, I'm not going to say. The chase already gave away the basic plot, so, you know, I'm not going to say anything about it. I will echo his statements about...
Would you say that, like, what I just said was, like, the most basic of plot, and, like, that's all you should ever know about this movie and just go in blind?
Absolutely. That's the best way to describe the movie. It's totally the best, because if you don't want to be spoiled if you don't want anything to be spoiled for you, then that's a good way to think about it, because the way you describe that's the best way to describe the movie. I will echo your statements on Guy Pearce. He is phenomenal in this movie. His performance is absolutely terrific. It's one of the best of his career, if not the best. The screenplay is remarkable. It actually got an Oscar nomination. I realized that this was the film that got Christopher Nolan his first Oscar nomination. It also got edited, which this film is incredibly edited. The editing is incredible. It goes into the non-linear structure, but it's edited so well, it's like seamless. It's very seamless. There's a black and white element to this movie that I'm not going to like get into, but it's really well done. The other performances are terrific. I love the idea of it being a movie about amnesia, and the way it's like presented in this movie. It's a really sad thing. There's one sequence, and I don't want to spoil it, just in case people haven't seen it. There's a sequence with, I forgot the actor's name. Stephen Tobolowsky, I think that's his name, and the guy's wife, and he experiences amnesia as well. And that whole sequence with him is utterly depressing. Carrie-Anne Moss is fantastic here, and I never was able to pronounce his name. The guy from The Matrix, what's his name? Joe Pantoliano?
Something like that.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Let's just go with that.
Yes, he's terrifying in this movie. He's awesome. The movie's all around terrific. It's a filmmaker's film. You have to watch it if you're a cinephile. It's considered one of the best films of the 2000s. A lot of film critics from across the board consider this to be one of the best. And it only cost $9 million to make. It made $80 million at the box office, which is great. Or not $80 million. $30 million. I don't know where I got the 80. I don't know. Someone's wrong with my eyes tonight, so I thought I mixed up the 3 with the 8. Oops, sue me. But it's incredible. And, you brought up Jonathan Nolan earlier. Jonathan Nolan has actually built a nice career for himself because he actually he created the brilliant, underrated show Person of Interest on CBS, but he's also one of the creators of Westworld, which is now a big deal, and it's awesome. The Memento is just... It left me speechless when I first watched it, and I wanted to watch it again. I adore it so much, and for people who haven't seen it, please do yourself a favor and check it out. Brilliant storytelling, brilliant filmmaking. Christopher Nolan, Guy Pearce acting great, writing great, direction, editing, score, cinematography, everything perfect, just fantastic. See it if you haven't. Memento is my number 1. So Chase, explain to me, what makes The Prestige your favorite Christopher Nolan film of all time?
So, well, first of all, I'm not the only one. My wonderful, beautiful co-host on my podcast, the other one, Joel, that's his number 1 as well. There's something about The Prestige that it just, everything kind of clicked with me. It's a wonderful fantasy that transports you to this different world, this old Victorian era almost, which complements its beautiful cinematography, its wonderful score, its riveting performances. Listen, it's not easy to be a showman like that and really convince us that you were magicians and you were trying to manipulate people and trick people. Hell, they even say it in the beginning of the movie. It's the first line. It's Brian knows which line I'm talking about. I'm paraphrasing, but it's blink and you'll miss it or something like that. It's pay attention or something like that. So you were absolutely glued to the screen. You were just sucked into everything that is going on because you want to know, how are these guys going to manipulate us? How is the story going to twist us around? And when you have the charismatic nature and force of Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale, competing magicians, it is just absolutely a joy to watch. And not only that, the magic tricks are really well done too. Christopher Nolan is very notorious for using practical in-camera effects, and he does that to the best of his ability, until he has to do some post-editing kind of camera CGI tricks to do some of the magic, but most of it's in camera to where you actually believe these magic tricks that are going on, because that's some of the best kind of illusions that are really up close, and the magicians cannot shy away from tricking you up close like that. You have to be very good at what you do in order to trick people like that. And I just thought everything about it was wonderful. The set design was really great. I actually really liked the twist at the end. Like I said, it had this fantasy sci-fi type of bend to it. It was so out of this world, surreal type of quality that it was so different than Batman Begins. I was like, this is the same fucking guy. And who knows, I might be a little biased because I love magic and I just love illusions in general. And so when you have a movie based on that's really well done in terms of its, tension directing and its wonderful writing, its wonderful characters, its awesome performances, its beautiful cinematography and haunting score, I mean, I don't know what more to say, man. It's so good. It's always been my favorite since I saw it in 2006. Or 2007, it's one of those years. But, because I remember I saw it in, what was it, high school? Yeah, I think it was my sophomore year or something like that. I love it. I mean, it's been my favorite ever since it came out. Even when The Dark Knight came out after it. It was the following one after The Prestige, and everyone ape shit over it. I still love The Prestige. And that might be because of my love for magic and the art of illusion. So that's why that's my favorite. But I can't be disappointed in Brian's choice because that's my number 2. Like, I firmly believe that Memento and The Prestige are his 2 best things he's ever done. And, you know, Brian's going to add Insomnia to that mix. So guess what? Pretty much everything before 2008 is like what we enjoy the most. So I hope you guys feel the same. And I would like to know down below, what are some of your favorites of the Christopher Nolan filmography and least favorite, if you have any? I would like to know, like, people out there that absolutely hate him. I would like to know and read your thoughts about him because I feel differently. Brian feels differently. And we already said at the top of the show, we don't have any dishonorable mentions. So I'm actually going to play a game with Brian since everything else he's done is in the honorable mentions category. Brian, you can only pick one. All the rest are erased from history. You can only pick one other film outside the top 5, and the rest are gone. Which one are you going with? You can only have one honorable mention, and the rest are erased from history.
I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with Dunkirk.
I'm gonna go with Insomnia. So, yeah, because I'm okay with just having one Batman film from him, and I'm cool with the ones I picked. But yeah, if I had to pick only one more and the rest were gone, I would do Insomnia for sure. Leaving only Dunkirk and The Dark Knight for me is his only like 2 huge blockbusters. So, you know, that's the way.
Yeah, and now let me ask you this: what is your least favorite film that he's done?
So if I had like a gun to my head and I had to pick one,
yes.
The last, the reveal of Interstellar, that's my least favorite thing he's ever done. Because I'm not going to put the whole movie in the category like most people do. I actually think, like, as far as like a kind of space adventure, that is absolutely a wonderful film about wormholes and shit that I found like really intriguing and stuff. It's the reveal, because I thought the reveal was just it's under Christopher Nolan. It's beneath him. Because, like, Brian knows what I'm talking about, what the reveal is and, like, what powered the whole, like, you know, journey and whatnot, the L word. I thought that was, like, super cheesy and super below him. So I'm not going to put the full movie. I'm just going to put the reveal of Interstellar. That's my least favorite thing he's ever done. What about you?
Yeah, Interstellar, I think, is also my least favorite thing he's done. I really like the movie a lot. I would give it, like, a 4 out of 5, like, A-, B+. I really liked it. I was a little let down by it. It was kind of a disappointment for me, but I still really liked it. I agree that big reveal in Interstellar was kind of odd.
It's cheesy.
It was a little out of place for me. Too cheesy, and I don't know. It just didn't work for me. I've only seen it once. The last time I saw it was the day it came out. So November 7th, 2014. That was the last time I saw it. I think I saw it in IMAX. No, I didn't see it in IMAX, but it's still to me the loudest thing I've ever seen in my life, and but it's still really good. It's still a really well done movie, of course, but just kind of a letdown and probably my least favorite thing he's done.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to pick one, it would be that one. I know a lot of people bitch about the third act of Dark Knight Rises. I like it. I don't. It's a solid trilogy all around. I really, you know, even with the minor flaws and stuff, like it still doesn't really like bother me to a point where it's like, oh, the whole movie's bad. But yeah, that reveal of Interstellar is like you sink in a lot of your time investing into that story, and then the reveal happens. You're like, okay. So, yeah, so let us know down below what your thoughts are on the whole Christopher Nolan debacle. Is he one of the best? Is he going to be one of the best, or is he one of the worst ones out there? I would like to know people that actually hate him. But yeah, I usually jump to Brian, and we usually come up with our next week's topic. As of right now, we don't know. We don't have one set. So we'll leave that as a mystery to you guys. So next week's episode will be a hunking pile of mystery meat. Enjoy. Brian, before we head on out, where can the people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at Film Junkie Brian and on YouTube at youtube.com/Brian Sutfield.
That's right. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Real Chase Lee. Subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can up to date on when we post these things up. And, of course, Brian and I both have movie podcasts each Sunday on our YouTube channels. Check those out where we go in depth of basically the movies that we honor on this week's show. So, it kind of ties in. It's all correlated. We do that for you guys. But, yeah, spread this around, guys. Let people know that this is the definitive Top 5 show. We will see you guys next week for the Mystery Meat episode, the hunking pile from your cafeteria worker. So, yeah, we will see you guys next week. I'm Chase Lee.
And I'm Brian Sutfield.
That is fucking right. Bye-bye, everyone. Top 5 Saturdays Live, baby. What's up?